Everyone, thank you for joining us. This is Yield Talks on the Edge podcast. I'm DeFi Dad here with Nomadic. Every Friday, we host a live space to review new and interesting DeFi, to spotlight what we believe is an on-chain opportunity more of you should know about. Today is Wednesday, so we're a few days ahead of time. We were so excited to talk about proof of burn and tokenized burned ETH that we are a few days ahead of schedule. Today, we are joined by Zach from the Ethereum Community Foundation about their recently announced proof of burn protocol and what I just referred to as tokenized burned ETH, or BETH or BETH. We'll find out how you're supposed to pronounce that. I really want to know, what is the point of tokenized burned ETH? Who is it designed for? And, how can we use it as DeFi users? So, Zach, welcome. Could we start out with just a little bit more about you and the Ethereum Community Foundation?
Yeah. Hey, how's it going? My name's Zach. Been working on Ethereum since 2015 or so. I've founded a few different companies that have built on Ethereum. Early days, I worked on ETH2 core development, specifically on peer-to-peer networking stacks before moving into DeFi around 2020. And we recently launched the Ethereum Community Foundation and at ETHCC. And our mandate is pretty simple. It's to pump the price of ETH and maximize burn.
Hey, Zach, can I just ask you a follow-up about the ECF? So, I love your mandate, pump the price of ETH, but what sort of initiatives or plans or strategies are you kind of working with to make that happen? Like, can you maybe just give us a little bit more about what goes on at the ECF? Like, I don't even really know how it was formed.
Sure. Yeah. So some of the initiatives that we've started are we developed BlobKit, which is an SDK that allows users to easily read and write arbitrary data to blobs. So before, it would probably take about 700 to 1,500 lines of code to write to a blob, including, KZG commitment and all the additional, caveats that are required to interact with blob space. So BlobKit reduces that to a single line. So that allows us to essentially leverage blobs for arbitrary data storage that are ephemeral. It's kind of experimental, seeing what we can do within the protocol landscape. Another initiative we're working on that will be kind of kickstarting DevConnect is the Ethereum Validators Association. And that specifically provides something of a forum for validators who don't really have any representation within the core dev process or the protocol roadmap itself. There's no real validator signaling that allows, the people that are running the network and taking all the risk to signal support for which EIPs and protocol initiatives and changes they want to see and what they want to support. So we're working on that. That's probably one of the bigger ones. Another thing is the Ethereum Policy Institute, and that's going to be focused primarily on interacting specifically with U.S. regulators and government officials to, present a good use case for Ethereum as a technology in the future of financial infrastructure. I think that's a big thing that no real organization has been tackling. I know we have Etherealized, but most everyone is focused on a more global scale. So we're focusing primarily on America.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, it's just great that there's more groups like yourselves and Etherealized that you mentioned, kind of just getting behind the Ethereum machine and just more people helping to push it forward. But I want to get into the announcement that we saw back on August 28th. So Ethereum Community Foundation came out with this blog called Proof of Burn. You introduced do you pronounce this BETH, BETH, or how do you pronounce it?
I like to pronounce it Beth, because I like to think of it as an old woman.
All right, let's go with Beth. But yeah, can you just explain the vision here? Why do we need Beth? How would BETH function for DeFi users? All of that stuff.
Yeah, so BETH is kind of like WETH, but for burning ETH instead of wrapping it. So when you send ETH to the BETH contract, it just permanently destroys that ETH, and it gives you BETH tokens as proof of burn. So it's really just a receipt, but it's the first standard way to represent burned ETH. And it provides composability as like a tradable asset as well, potentially. So it's a receipt for destroyed value, and it can be used in like DeFi, governance, or anywhere else in ERC20 would work. And why should anybody care about this? So if a protocol wants to burn ETH right now, they have to build custom verification. That standardizes that, kind of like WETH standardized wrapped ETH. So it turns burning from like a one-time event into a composable building block. And I think that's kind of what, the foundation of DeFi is really. So kind of use cases, like imagine governance where voting power comes from like proven sacrifice, and another use cases, Sybil resistance, like anti-spam systems where bots have to like burn real ETH. So BETH makes all of that possible with a simple ERC20.
Grow wealth exponentially. With TOROS leveraged tokens, when the market moves in your favor, your gains become parabolic. They're built to ride trends, auto-compounding profits. With TOROS, it's simple. Pick a vault, deposit, and your exposure is multiplied, maintained, and protected automatically against liquidations. TOROS reduces risk and keeps you in the market, ready for the rebound. When markets dip, the vaults auto-adjust, softening losses and preserving your position. Just pick a token to multiply your returns. TOROS Finance, exponential gains with leveraged tokens. To learn more, go to toros.finance. REDSTONE is building the Oracle backbone to unlock real-world finance on-chain and next-gen DeFi. With modular gas-efficient feeds across over 110 chains, trusted by 170 clients, supporting over 1,300 assets, from value-accruing stablecoins, liquid staking and restaking tokens, to treasuries, private credit, and commodity tokens, REDSTONE delivers accurate real-time data where it matters most. The biggest platforms and protocols in DeFi today choose REDSTONE oracles, such as Athena, Securitize, BlackRock Biddle, Pendle, Spark, and Maple Finance. If you're building the future of finance on-chain, you need REDSTONE's leading modular blockchain oracle layer. To learn more, go to redstone.finance, and thanks to REDSTONE for supporting us here at the Edge Podcast and Edge Newsletter. Maple Finance is one of my favorite products in DeFi. It is a gateway to sustainable real yield, powered by over $1 billion in AUM across USDC and BTC products. And now with SYRUPUSDC by Maple, anyone can earn institutional-grade yield. Learn more at syrup.fi, and thanks to Maple for supporting us here at the Edge Podcast and Edge Newsletter. FALCON Finance, the team behind the fastest-growing synthetic dollar, with institutional yields that are competitive and sustainable, offering yield optimized across your favorite DeFi protocols. Point season is now live. Learn more at falcon.finance. Zach, who is BETH designed for? Like, who's the target, who's going to want to accumulate BETH? We saw Joe Lubin tweeting a bit about this and had us thinking of, folks like ETH treasury companies or basically anyone that's holding ETH.
Well, anybody that wants to contribute to the monetary premium of Ethereum is going to be using BETH. But also, I think there's a lot of novel use cases that we haven't even thought up yet. Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity for fun games that incentivizes burning ETH. I think it can I think it could also present new economic models that aren't as dilutive in terms of just like launching a bunch of shit coins. Like now you can just like burn ETH, and that's kind of like a much cooler and positive sum token, as opposed to just launching more meme coins.
Yeah, Zach, let me just read this tweet that Joe posted the day I think you sent out that announcement. He seemed pretty fired up over it. So let me just read kind of the main point of what he was talking about. He says, we will be adopting and building on BETH, 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 BETH. Burning ETH is going to be a very lucrative thing to do, as it will spawn industries, and a very fun thing to do, as it will become a popular mechanic in Web3 games. This is one way people will get paid to play in Web3. So there's just a few things in that tweet that I want to unpack too. All these different variations of BETH that he's calling out. I have no idea what he's alluding to with these BETH, BETH. Can you break any of that down for us to start?
Yeah, I think that's just kind of like a riff on nesting tokens and like the meme potential of like burning burnt ETH and then burning that burnt ETH. Kind of like the exhibit meme from back in the day, like, yo dog, I heard you liked burning ETH. So we burned your ETH to burn your ETH. I think it's just trying to like push more memetics around burning ETH.
And then a little bit more on the Web3 gaming stuff. To me, it's still abstract. What more can you explain about how burnt ETH could work into Web3 gaming?
Yeah, I think that's a cool mechanic for like status, progression, or unlocks. Like you can use it as an in-game currency. I mean, the same as like a lot of other tokens as well. But I mean, the point is like we want to incentivize burning ETH, and we want to like create mechanics that make it cool and also, you know, somewhat incentivized. And this is like the first step in figuring out how to do all of that. So we're building a few games that leverage these mechanics just to like try it out. And, you know, I don't know if this is going to be successful or not, right? I have no idea. We're just out here in the trenches trying to build. So we'll see what works and what doesn't. And we're also going to open up a round of grants through the ECF that will, so if anybody has anything they want to build or has any ideas for something cool that could leverage these mechanics, yeah, please apply for a grant. We're willing to put our money where our mouth is to experiment and figure it out. Yeah, I just want to like reiterate, I don't have all the answers. I don't know. You know, like we need to figure this out together as a community. If it's cool, it's cool. Let's build it. And if not, at least we tried, you know?
When we talk about burning ETH, normally we're referring to EIP 1559. And so one of the rallying cries over the last few years was, as more economic activity picked up on chain, we would see more transaction fees ultimately paid by more users, a fraction of the fee being burned. And this is putting like a deflationary pressure on ETH. So this has been, you know, a part of the reason that Wall Street is super interested in ETH as a store of value. This is also a part of, I think, understanding the complexity of how the ETH supply grows and shrinks. And that's why this idea, I think for me, of having tokenized burned ETH is compelling. Like if you are an ETH holder, it would make sense that you might want to hold this tokenized burned ETH because, to your point, you're contributing to reducing the supply of ETH over time. I think one thing that I'm not certain of or haven't really thought as much about, and I'm wondering if you and the team have an answer for this. Do you think that BETH should trade one-to-one with ETH? Should it trade at a premium or a discount?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I mean, technically, it should really be valueless because it's just burnt ETH. So, I mean, this is really introducing a whole new layer of complexity. I think that it should reasonably probably trade somewhat close to ETH, but with its own premium and discount dynamics. I think there could be some arbitrage opportunities, assuming there's demand for it. I mean, but that's, you know, like any other token, if applications and protocols leverage it and it has some sort of redeeming quality, then it should, I suppose, trade similar to ETH. But I don't know. What do you think?
My gut is it's going to be pretty close to zero eventually. But
yeah,
if you find utility for it, that's obviously going to be the catalyst for price appreciation or price discovery. Like if people actually start integrating BETH as a standard into different mechanics in DeFi, like you said, in gaming. It just comes down to utility.
For the record, like when I wrote this contract, I didn't think about it trading at all. So I don't really have any clue. I don't intend on, seeding an LP pool or anything like that. We didn't even really think about it. It was mostly just, receipt based. So yeah, I have no idea. Looking forward to seeing what sort of dynamic plays out there.
This episode is brought to you by MANTLE, pioneering a revolutionary new category called blockchain for banking by bridging TradFi and Web3 into one unified stack. With on-chain transactions, TradFi rail compatibility, and integrated DeFi features, MANTLE is reshaping how financial services work. Their flagship app UR lets users hold fiat and crypto all in one Swiss-backed account, making real-world finance usable on-chain. To learn more, go to ur.app and follow mantle_official on Twitter. Spark, one of the leading DeFi protocols, has had a year like no other, deploying $2 billion into RWAs with BlackRock's BUIDL and other institutional giants, adding over $1 billion in TVL, and distributing over $9 billion across the DeFi ecosystem. Now, Spark are setting their sights on further global expansion and have introduced the Spark token, which is available on leading centralized exchanges. There's never been a better time to discover Spark, the on-chain capital allocator. Learn more at spark.fi.
So primarily what I'm thinking about is like L2s and how we can sort of force alignment economically between L2s and Ethereum, and using ETH as like the base layer for the economics of the network. I think having some sort of burn receipt that L2s can prove that they contributed to the monetary premium of Ethereum is going to be pretty valuable for just demonstrating alignment. So that's what I have in mind. Like Linnea or Linea, however you say it, they're burning ETH, right? I think that's great. So how are they going to prove that? What are they going to prove that they've burned? And how are we going to easily account for that in a transparent way that anybody can access? There's not really any tool that allows you to just easily and simply look at that. So I think looking at it primarily as a unit of account and an infrastructure tool that helps ease the accounting, that helps me evaluate the technical feasibility and kind of like the allegiance, so to speak, of an L2 toward Ethereum as the L1 and also as the economic layer. I think that's important to me as a user and an investor. So I think that that's just another tool in the toolkit that allows me to further conduct due diligence on these ecosystems.
That's really interesting. So for the few entities that would have burned ETH, I guess, what is the standard nowadays? Like, is it just having folks savvy enough to look at like Etherscan or create like a Dune dashboard?
It's hard. It's prohibitively difficult because most L2s operate as a single sequencer. It's fairly opaque. It's not necessarily a black box, but it isn't entirely easy to look into, right? So each one has a different, its own different economic system. So it's pretty hard. And a lot of these L2s don't even burn their ETH. I know that at the beginning, everyone was like, oh yeah, we're going to burn ETH, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. But then what they end up doing is just rerouting all of that Ethereum into their own treasury or into a multi-sig or into some pipeline where they're, some crony pipeline where they're just paying themselves and double dipping essentially. So I think it's really important that we kind of like have visibility into that. This is kind of a way to force the hand of other L2s as well to say like, hey, what are you doing? Where'd that ETH go? I don't think everybody needs to just burn all of their ETH, right? So, I mean, it's not like all or nothing, but, like gas fees should be burned, right? And you should be using Ethereum as the native gas token on an L2. And that should just be burned. That shouldn't be put into a treasury. I think that's like the main problem statement that I'm trying to address, or at least that's what I had in mind as I was writing the contract and thinking through the infrastructure and what the most practical use case is for it. Because this isn't a complicated contract at all. Like, you send it ETH, it forwards that ETH to 0 address, it gives you 1 BETH token.
I mean, to the point of what Joe Lubin was making and what you were making, there's something very memeable about it. And like I said, there's multiple players here who I think could lean into this. The types of folks that, really want to increase the monetary premium of ETH and, further reduce the supply of ETH. So this is all making sense to me. It's just early. And so I guess aside from like wanting to know like what's next and when does this go live?
It's live right now. It took me a day to write this. I got it audited. I wrote it last week. We talked about it for like a month. And then I had some time and I was like, I'm just going to write this contract. And I pushed it. It's live. It's good to go. It's been audited. There's already some activity on the contract.
If someone isn't able to navigate something like Etherscan or able to like interact directly with a smart contract, is there an app to take advantage of that or to play around with that?
There is not yet as of this moment, but maybe I'll just spin one up today. I don't know. And if somebody else wants to build it and wants a grant, then please reach out to me.
Very cool. One final question for you. Have you had any interest from DeFi builders?
Yeah, no one yet. But also I think that a lot of people, I just, based on what I've seen on Twitter and like in the DMs and in Telegram and in group chats and stuff, I think people are still trying to understand what this is. It's not like I didn't really do much marketing or anything around it. I didn't create an explainer site. Like, I have a GitHub with a README, and then we have Etherscan, and that's pretty much it. So I think people are still trying to figure out exactly what this is. And I think I published this contract. I just deployed it on like maybe Friday or over the weekend or something like that, like a few days ago. So y'all are like the first people I'm talking to about this, and this is the first podcast that I'm on about this. So,
well, we really enjoyed having you, Zach. And like I said, thank you for coming on. I want to remind our listeners that they should learn more about the Ethereum Community Foundation by going to ethcf.org. Follow ethcf.org on X. Follow Zach's account as well, which is 0xZach, ZAK.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And if anybody wants a grant or has any good ideas, just reach out to me. It's all about collaborating.
Thanks everyone for tuning in. To stay up to date with future episodes, plus get expert tips, strategies, and exclusive content, subscribe to our free newsletter at the-edge.xyz.